Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Nina, and welcome to a summer vacation reading vlog. I am currently on a 2-week vacation in the French countryside, basically. I'm here with my family, and I thought it would be so fun to take you along with me in both what I read and what I do on this trip. Today is our first day here, so we just hung out, relaxed, and I started my first book. If you want to know my summer TBR before we start this video, I did make a full video in which I prepped for this trip with all things bookish. So I bought some books, I went to the library, I shared my summer TBR, and from that TBR, I am going to read a few books in this video. And in that video, I shared that one of the things that I was looking for in this summer reading was mostly well-written books. I chose some books from my physical TBR that I think have a great writing style, and the plot doesn't really matter as much. I just wanted to be immersed in poetic and beautiful words. However, when I chose a book this morning that I was excited to read, the one book that I was so excited to read was a book that I put on my e-reader as a palate cleanser if I was feeling just something a bit shitty, young adult romance vibes. And I was looking through the list this morning and I was like, that is the only book that I am really excited to read. So I just started it and I am already 20% in. So I thought it was time to share my thoughts now so I can take you along on the ride. So the book I'm talking about is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. And the reason that I put this book on my e-reader is because firstly, I have already read 2 books by this author and they are queer young adult romance books. They're not necessarily great in terms of writing, so they're the exact opposite as for what I was looking for, but they are really swoon worthy. They're really cute, they're filled with tension. This is the author from Red, White, and Royal Blue as well. Most of you probably have read that. And when I saw what this book was about, I was like, this is perfect for this moment, because this is about 2 people who used to be best friends, then started dating and ended up breaking up. So they're exes, but they're also ex-best friends. And when they were together, they booked a wine and food trip through Europe. And when they broke up, they both got a voucher for that trip and they could use the voucher for a couple of years. And they ended up choosing the exact same moment to go on that trip. So it's 4 years later now. They have not had contact since the breakup, but they are accidentally on this food and wine tour through Europe together. And that's just such a fun setup. And so far, I really like the chemistry between the characters. You can tell, I think that's one of my favorite things, is you can tell that they're friends, or they have been friends. They have so much history outside of their romantic history. So they know each other from childhood. They know each other's families. They know how they grew up, but they got together when they were in college, I think. So they're now mid-20s, but they've been broken up for 4 years and they were together for 2 years. So the relationship in the romantic sense was not super long, but their whole history is so long that they have all these inside jokes and all of this chemistry from the friendship as well as chemistry from the relationship. I also love the queer characters in this book. Both of the main characters are bisexual, and it's so casually talked about that they are with boys and girls both. It's not a thing that they're queer, you know what I mean? I feel in books sometimes it's you have to read the coming out story, or there's always this thing of ooh, I'm gonna try this for the first time or something. I love it when you have a book where there's queer characters that have been queer and out and open for a while. It's not a question anymore. They're just living their lives like this. I think that's really good representation as well. So for some reason, this was just exactly what I wanted. And I read a bunch today and it's been really fun. I'm really enjoying it. I also think the setting is so fun, especially since I'm here. They started the tour in London, then they went to Paris. Now they are in Bordeaux. I actually went on a wine trip to Bordeaux a few years ago, so I have a lot of memories of being there and drinking the wines and also going to like the vineyards and everything. And they're also, I think, going to Spain and maybe Italy. And I've been on a wine tour in Italy as well. So this is just like right up my alley as well. Like they're going to all these places to try the wine and taste all the food. And if I am on a trip, all I want to do is taste the food and drink wine. So I feel like for this trip as well, like this is the perfect moment for me to read a book like this. So it is not necessarily the high quality, more poetic books that I was thinking about reading, but I'll get to those. Don't worry. I'm sure that I will read those as well. But for now, I am really, really enjoying this book. So I will keep you updated on how it goes. I think I'm going to fly through this because I feel like this is like such an easy to digest book that I don't think it's going to take me long at all to finish, which is great because I have a bunch of books on my summer TBR. I don't think I'm going to get to all of them, but I would love to get through most. So that's it for now. I am going to take you along with me on this whole trip, so I hope you will enjoy. Let's just start this vlog.
56. Oh. 33. Bingo!
Coffee in a paper cup. How the engine starts right up. Clip myself into the middle seat. Daddy liked talk radio. On gravel he would drive real slow. He told me let's go see what we could see. We pulled into the empty lot before the pavement got too hot. Underneath her leafy crown, the only shade for miles and miles around. With branches low like spiral stairs, we climbed into her maiden hair. You feel like you can really fly up there. My hand in his so patiently, we watched from our proud little tree. We hummed a little song to me. Suddenly the air would shake. The jet plane filled up all the space. The wheels went up and got so near. The leaves would fall like paper tears.
Good morning. It is Friday today, which means we have been here for 5 days. This is the fifth day. And I wanted to do a reading update because I have reached almost 60% in the pairing. And I do not want to stop reading, so I think I might finish it today. So I wanted to do a reading update before I finish it so I can do one after with my final thoughts as well. This book is just so fun to read. Like, it's the setting of the book with all of the different cities that they go to is so fun, and then you have the element of like the food and wine, and it's very extensively discussed, all the things that they're eating and drinking, and they're going on these like chocolate tours, and they're going on wine tours, and they're going to these restaurants, and they're describing like all of the food that they're eating, and it's so fun to read about. But I also think the two main characters that we're reading about have really fun chemistry. I've said this before, but I think the fact that they have been friends since childhood and they know each other so well adds such a fun element to this whole story, because they'll be in like Florence in Italy, and they're in this like gelato shop, and then they just know what their favorite ice cream flavors are, and it's like the book is like filled with all of those fun little details that you can just tell that there's so much history, but also so much trust and so much love in a friendship, childhood friendship kind of way. But they also, in books, when it's childhood friends, it's often, it ends when they start becoming adults. But they have obviously like grown since they broke up, but they are still very much the same person as they were when they were together, because they were already adults. So it's like they know like so much of each other's lives, and there's still new things to discover as well. Like, they're getting to know this new and improved version of each other, but it's only 4 years, which is a long time. But it's also like, I am still quite the same person as I was when I was 21. I have improved, but I'm not like a completely different person. It's not like there is nothing from the version of me from 4 years ago, and I feel like that is the same as in this book. I talked about how I like that there wasn't like a big coming out thing because both of the characters are bisexual, but there is actually a coming out, a gender related coming out later in the book that I really appreciated. I thought that was really well done. It was described in a really beautiful way. It made me tear up a little bit, and I think those things, I feel like all of the things are just done so well. I feel like everything is just thought through. It's really intentional and it's really fun. I am eating up the romance as well. Like, they have so much chemistry, and for me, this type of friends to lovers where they know each other so well is like the base of a good romance for me. And I don't know, I just think that this book is exactly what I wanted to read right now. I might be giving it 5 stars, just not necessarily because it's like the best written book I've ever read, but because this is giving me everything I want from the type of book that it is. I have 40% to go, so I don't know if it will stay that way. It kind of depends on the ending, but I do think that so far I've not wanted to put this book down, and I think that is a really, really good sign. So I might try to finish it today, depending on how much time I have to read. It's one of those books where every time I have a second to read, I am grabbing this book. I have my e-reader near me at all times, so I can read like a page in between things. So this is the perfect start to like vacation reading. Hello, today is Sunday and I finished reading The Pairing. I ended up giving it 5 stars. I absolutely loved that book. Sometimes when I read a bunch of bad YA books in a row, I question why I still read from that genre because I end up not really liking it most of the time. But then I get one of these books where I'm like, this is exactly what I love about this genre. This is why I keep trying. This book was just everything I wanted it to be. It was funny, it was dreamy, it was like the perfect setting. I have been to most of the places that are described in this book. Not all, but like a lot of them. And I think it describes really well how it feels to be a tourist in those cities, to be a tourist in Paris and in Rome and in Florence. And the way those cities are described really felt like I was there. And especially, like I said in the beginning, because I am someone who loves to experience throughout food and wine and drinks and tasting things. And that was like the biggest thing in this book. Not only because they were constantly eating and drinking delicious things and those things were described, but also all of the metaphors in this book were like food related. It wasn't like over the top where you're like, oh my God, every single thing is food, but it was the way in which they experienced these cities and these countries. And that was just a really fun thing. I loved our main characters. I loved that they were friends and you could feel they were friends, but they also had this chemistry. This book was really sexy. It is quite spicy. There is a lot of spice scenes in this book, so be aware if you want to read it. But I think it was really fitting, and the way they ended up, it was just really, really nice. So I really enjoyed this book. I think this was the perfect first book to read on this trip. But I also think that if I wouldn't have been on this trip while I read this book, I would have still really loved it. It would have made me like crave a vacation. So I was lucky that I read it here, so I wasn't like I feel like I would almost feel FOMO if I was reading this book while I was at home. I think I would recommend this to people either on a trip or like right before a trip, but also if you want to feel like you've been on a vacation but you don't actually get to travel this year, this book is perfect. I think if you like YA, you should definitely read this book. Also because it's very queer. I love queer YA books. I love queer books in general, but especially I think in YA. And it was so well executed. I just think this is a really great book. So, that being said, I did decide which book to read next. This is my physical TBR from this trip. I've already finished Kayla. I brought this because I had almost finished it and I read the few final chapters here. And these are the books that I have to read here. I also have some on my e-reader, but this is what I definitely want to get to. And the first book I chose is this one. It is called Things I Don't Want to Know by Deborah Levy. I have talked about this before. This is a reread for me. This is part of a 3-way autobiography series. I have all 3 books with me, so The Cost of Living and Real Estate are also part of this series. The first time I read these books, I was on a trip in France and I loved them so much. I think in the first book, you need some time to like understand what you're reading and get into the writing. But once I got into it, this series just like blew me away and it made me want to write so much. This is a response to Why I Write by George Orwell. And I think this book it's like drenched in writing, not necessarily because it is mentioned all the time, but it is so inspiring to me as a writer to read this, and I thought this was the perfect moment to reread it. I think I originally read it 2 or 3 years ago, so I think it was about time. So I am going to start this book next. It is a pretty short book, so I don't think it should take me that long, but I am really excited to read it. What I'm also excited about is what I am taking you along with tonight, because I am going to a candlelight concert here in France in this like old theater. I don't really know what to expect except beautiful things, beautiful music and beautiful visuals. So I am excited to film some things from that, and I will keep you updated on this book as I read it. All right, I finished reading Things I Don't Want to Know by Deborah Levy. It is kind of hard for me to review these books separately because they are so interconnected. This book really feels like the setup for the rest of the series. And that doesn't mean that it's not great individually, but I do think that the strength of these books are in having read all three of them. So I think if you completely separate this book from the other two, that it is a bit hard to get into, but it is the perfect setup for the other books, and it really takes you along to how Deborah Levy thinks and the way she makes connections. I feel like this book is filled with all of these scenes where you're like, who is this, or why do we care about this, or why are we getting into this one very specific metaphor? And then you get to the end of the chapter or the end of the book, and it all just clicks together and it all makes sense. The general themes of this book are not just things I don't want to know, that's obviously the title, but it is like how the things you don't want to know are usually already there. You just choose not to pay attention to them. So you know, like in the back of your mind, that something is wrong in your relationship, or you know in the back of your mind that something is going on with the person you're talking to, but you are choosing not to pay attention to it, but it is constantly there. It is like this looming thing over the conversation or your life or whatever it is. At the end of the book, she really ties everything together. You read a lot of things about her childhood, about her adult life. This is mostly about like her early life. It is about her moving from South Africa to England when she was, I think, 12-ish or 13. It's about her life in South Africa until that point, and then how it changes when she moves to a country that she doesn't belong to but wants to belong to, in her words. So it touches on a lot of great themes, and the writing style is really what gets me. There is nothing that makes me want to write myself like a Deborah Levy book. Her writing style is just so poetic. It's so beautiful. It is one of my favorite things to read. But like I said, I do feel like this is like the setup for the rest of the series. I would not recommend just reading this book. I would definitely recommend reading all of them, even if you might have not enjoyed this one as much, because I feel like if it didn't click in this book yet, it will click in the next one. So there is something to be said about needing to buy 3 books to enjoy them, which is a discussion for another time. I feel like it makes a lot of sense that these books are separated because there is very like specific themes in each one of them, but because it's like an autobiography as a whole, I feel like you do really need to read all of them. I also think it's totally worth it. So I really enjoyed reading this book, but I am also really excited to get onto the next book in this series. Hello. As you can maybe see, I am breaking into this vlog from home. I have been working on editing this vlog, and I realized that I have so much incredible footage that I want to share with you that it is too much to put in just one vlog. So I am going to split this in 2. This is the end of the first video, which is pretty much the first week of this trip, and then next week you will see the next week of this trip in a second vlog. I don't know if this is annoying or if you would rather have like one really long vlog. Let me know in case something like this happens again. I think I personally prefer to have like 2 30-minute vlogs instead of 1 hour long vlog, but let me know what you prefer so I can keep that in mind for next time. For now, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. I loved making it, not just because I got to travel, but also for me, this is like my favorite type of video to edit. I had so much fun just sitting here behind my desk and looking through all the footage and editing everything. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments, and then I will see you again next week for part 2 of this vlog.